Jarecki, and I am the Jerk. It is so nice to be in with you guys on a Tuesday morning. We are talking about sports and talking about life. We got a great show for you today. It was the NBA awards ceremony last night. A tennis player said something not so crazy. LaVar Ball was on WWE. There is just so much to get to, and it's mid-June. Actually, it's the end of June. We're not supposed to be packed today, but we are. And I am I'm so excited about today. And so, the big story of last night, Russell Westbrook, the incredible Oklahoma City point guard, won the NBA regular season MVP award last night. Now, a lot of people find it weird that this award ceremony happened last night, now that the season's already done, now that the draft is already done. I find it to be, I love it, because the more NBA I can talk, the less baseball regular season I have to talk, the better. So he accepted the award last night, Russell Westbrook did graciously, and I actually really liked some of the parts of his speech. And I enjoyed watching James Harden, be forced to semi-clap for him. And I enjoyed last night in general. It was a fun night in sports entertainment. Now, did Russell Westbrook have the best individual season? Not really. James Harden, the other MVP candidate, he had a higher field goal percentage all season. James Harden had a higher three-point percentage all season. Harden averaged just 2 less points, but on 5 less shots, so Harden was more efficient. Harden averaged more assists, and most importantly, because the game of basketball is about wins and losses, Harden changed himself as a player to make his team better, and it resulted in 8 more wins than Russell Westbrook's team, and it resulted in a 4-1 playoff series win for Harden's team over Westbrook's team. So, actually, it's hardly debatable who had the better individual season. It was James Harden. Which is why you probably saw James Harden's demeanor last night. He looked a little sideways. His claps had very little effort last night during Westbrook's speech. His whole body language was kind of, rolling his eyes. And so while I do think, Harden probably should have won the MVP for this year's NBA regular season, based on his numbers and team success, I'm not going to whine about how Westbrook didn't deserve it. Let's all be grown-ups about this. Let's look at this from a very grown-up perspective. Let's just consider why Westbrook deserved to win the MVP last night, because I think, all things considered, Westbrook did deserve to win the MVP last night. He saved a league's regular season. He saved ESPN and Fox Sports from 4 months of dead. He single-handedly kept a basketball team in the middle of a football state relevant for an entire NBA season, and he did it all while making no friends with the media, no buddy-buddy connections around the league. He was fierce, Jordan-esque, he was a competitor, and that's the thing a lot of you miss about the NBA. Listen, the American sports media and the American sports consumer, they switch their attentions every 6 months. Generally, it's football, September through early February. All we care about is football, college, pro. Just give us all the damn football you can give us. We love it, and it's going to be another fantastic year in college and pro this year. Then, as soon as the Super Bowl ends in early February, everybody in the media scrambles, and we pretend like we've been watching college basketball all season because we're trying to get ready for March Madness. And during that time, we sprinkle in some professional basketball. And then when the college basketball tournament ends, we begrudgingly turn our attention to a largely irrelevant NBA season. I mean, I was looking from the corner of my eye over at the NBA during March Madness, and I was saying to myself, what the hell are we going to talk about? Nobody is competitive with Golden State. Nobody's competitive with Cleveland. It was basically largely predetermined all season that we were going to see those two teams in the finals. And Russell Westbrook and his debatably selfish triple-double season was the lifeboat to a largely uncompetitive NBA season. He didn't realize it. I mean, he often plays and goes through the season with blinders on and cares about getting his and getting his only. And that can be criticized. But for one season, Russell Westbrook made it all about himself and getting revenge on KD. And he was on a mission to break that triple-double record, and he did it, and it saved the media's ass during a regular season in which everybody in the media was searching for talking points. It saved ESPN's ass during a season in which the finals were predetermined and ESPN's paying $2 billion a year for NBA television rights. It saved Adam Silver's ass during a season which the finals were predetermined and Charles Oakley was the other big story. I always say this. Who do you think, why do you think we made Charles Oakley, a largely irrelevant former NBA player who has a history of being a nut job, why do you think we made him getting kicked out of the Knicks arena a month-long story? Because we didn't have anything else to talk about. So I think the NBA and ESPN and Fox Sports and radio hosts around the country, we can whine about why Russell Westbrook doesn't deserve the MVP. I say thank you, Russell Westbrook, for a selfish, misled, incredible, emotional, historic regular season effort. We wrung the rag dry with this Russell Westbrook triple-double story. And today, the media, the fans, the networks, the league, everybody that hates, everybody that loves Russell Westbrook should be incredibly thankful, as I am, because when the football season ended, we all turned our attention to the NBA, and we all quickly realized that Golden State and Cleveland were in a league of their own, and the Russell Westbrook story was there to put the cape on and create storylines for everybody to feed off of. One player on a sixth seed team in the middle of Oklahoma that had no chance to win a playoff series captured our attention for an entire regular season, while LeBron, who I love, took nights off, while the spindly Kevin Durant was out for a month with injury, while James Harden struggled to capture the attention of the nation with his effortless play. And it created storylines for everybody. Here's Russell Westbrook thanking the media for paying attention to his triple-double season.
I never thought I'd be saying this over here today, but I want to thank the media. So I thank you guys for voting for me. No, but seriously, but thank you guys for voting for me. I very, very appreciate it. I feel like I go out every night and compete at a very, very high level, and I'm thankful for you guys noticing that. So thank you.
That's Russell Westbrook thanking the media for all the attention that his triple doubles received this year. I mean, what he doesn't get about this whole thing is that the media should really be thanking him. I mean, was his triple-double campaign a little bit misled? Did I criticize it all year? Absolutely. But it gave me something to talk about. And Russell Westbrook went on, and you can tell he's a very heartfelt guy, very family-oriented. He got very emotional about his family support, talked about his wife. He was very, very warm with his words towards his wife. I think it's hard to be a star player in the NBA. Like, the millions and the fame, that's all great. But as far as team sports go, there's no team sport in which the individual player gets criticized as highly as the NBA. For two reasons, really. The first reason is, there are only about 7 guys in the NBA who the public actually cares about. So the media tends to focus on 7 star players like Westbrook, Harden, Curry, LeBron, KD. I mean, those are really the only guys. You could throw in Draymond Green and Kawhi Leonard, but generally the first 5 guys I named, Westbrook, Harden, Curry, LeBron, KD, that's about it. That's who the public cares about. So we just bang and bang and bang on those 5 guys. That's the first reason that, the individual is so highly criticized in the NBA. The second reason is basketball is a sport that can be just so affected by one player. Like, for example, LeBron makes or breaks a team's destiny whether he goes there or not. He took the Cleveland team from 33 wins to the finals his first year back from Miami. So it becomes very easy to target one player as a reason teams win or lose. It's hard. It's hard to be a star NBA player. It really isn't. And Westbrook, his entire season this year got criticized because people said, including myself, he wasn't getting his team. He was not getting his teammates involved as he should have been. He made it about himself. He made it about getting revenge on Kevin Durant. But I did like his speech. And I did like how warm his words were towards his wife and his parents and his brother especially. And I do think, I think Russell Westbrook, he's going to have to change his game to a certain extent if he wants to win championships. He's going to have to recruit guys to Oklahoma City or go somewhere else. He's going to have to get guys the ball in more critical spots during games, although he averaged about 10.5 assists this season. But I do think he needs to change his game if he wants to win a championship. I think Harden probably deserved this award statistically. But in a way, I think this helps James Harden. For Russell Westbrook right now, it's like, okay, I've made it. I showed the world that I can be the MVP of the league. I don't need Kevin Durant. But for James Harden, right now, it's like, okay, I just got embarrassed in the playoffs against the Spurs. I didn't show up. This guy won the MVP over me. I think James Harden's going to have a very, very productive season. I think he started to change as a player last season in Mike D'Antoni's system, who won Coach of the Year, Mike D'Antoni did. And I think Houston has a real shot to get Chris Paul. I think if James Harden continues to develop as an unselfish scorer, I think he's going to have a very, very good season. I think he has a shot to win the MVP of the regular season next season. Because we all know what's going to, the finals are largely predetermined next season as well. And I think LeBron's going to be taking a lot of nights off, getting a year older. I don't see Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving's injury prone. Golden State obviously will be taking certain nights off, and it's hard to single out a certain player from Golden State's team to become the MVP of the league because they have so many great players. How do you know who makes or breaks that team? And I do think James Harden has a real shot next year to be the MVP. And I think this puts his chip on his shoulder. I really do. You saw him. You watch him during that speech. Very hesitant to clap. His body language is kind of rolling his eyes. He was better statistically than Russell Westbrook. I don't see Russell Westbrook averaging a triple-double. One of the main criticisms on Russell Westbrook this year was, hey, he's not saving an extra gear for the playoffs, and we saw that. He got tired in the fourth quarter of those games in the playoffs. All right, after the break, LaVar Ball. He was on television last night. It was a party. I love it. I'm sure all of you guys hated it, but I loved it. We'll get to that after the break. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This is The Jerk. Welcome back to The Jerk. I'm Matthew Jarecki. I am The Jerk. It's a Tuesday morning, 9:23. We are on KLJXLP 107.1, Flagstaff, Arizona, KJackRadio.com. You can catch me on Facebook Live as well. Whatever you prefer, you can catch the podcast. A lot of people like listening to the podcast after the show. No commercials. It's all right there for you whenever you want to listen to it. So I totally get that. We do that for you every single day. We condense it into a podcast. You can call into the show today, 928-523-4554, 928-523-4554. If you guys have thoughts on any of what I'm going to say, just call in. We started the show talking about Russell Westbrook. James Harden actually was statistically better, just a little bit better than Russell Westbrook last year. But I think Russell Westbrook did deserve to be the league MVP last year because he carried the entire storyline. We were, a lot of people in the media, while the NFL Super Bowl was going on, we were looking from the corner of our eye at the NBA saying, what in the world are we going to talk about? The finals was largely predetermined, and it will be again this year, but we have, other storylines. Like, I'm very excited to watch the Minnesota Timberwolves. I cannot wait to see what the 76ers are going to be. I think Ben Simmons is going to jump off of the television screen. And to be frank, Lonzo Ball, I think, is going to be, probably the most popular star in the NBA next year. And if he gets Paul George, they're going to be the most popular duo, I think, in the NBA next year. And speaking of Lonzo Ball, LaVar Ball was on Monday Night Raw last night. And if you guys don't know, if you guys didn't grow up watching wrestling like I did, Monday Night Raw, it's like WWE's most popular television event. It gets very good ratings, actually. It's all fake, but it's entertaining. A lot of us grew up watching it. And I know a lot of you guys are probably rolling your eyes right now. He's exploiting his son. He's the devil. Get him off my television screen. I mean, when I think LaVar Ball, I just think of an old gray lady, making a cross with her fingers, shutting her eyes because she just can't take the arrogance of this man. Get over yourself, people. You know what I never understood? People that hate arrogance or self-confidence or confidence in their son. What is your problem with it? What effect does it have on you, somebody believing in themselves? Somebody self-promoting, saying, I'm really good at this. People hate the McGregor-Mayweather thing for this. Oh, I just hate how arrogant they are. What's America's... I would love for somebody to call in 928-523-4554. 928-523-4554. I would love for somebody to call in and tell me what America's problem is with arrogance. And tell me this. I keep hearing that LaVar Ball is exploiting his son. What? I don't think people fully understand. Is LaVar Ball telling his son to fake sick, to go to the doctor and pick him up some pain meds? Is LaVar Ball exploiting his son by promoting him to the point where he's the 8th biggest name in basketball and the most hyped rookie since LeBron? What am I missing here? Everybody tells me that the Kardashian parents are evil and that LaVar Ball is just the worst. I think the Kardashians, who have basically no talent, are pretty damn happy that their parents, quote-unquote, exploited them on television to make them their millions. Pretty sure Kylie Jenner is pretty happy right now. All over Snapchat. Got the Kardashian name, got the Jenner name. I'm pretty sure the Kardashians are happy right now. I think Lonzo Ball is pretty damn happy. He doesn't have to play in Sacramento or in Phoenix, Orlando. Like, I'm pretty sure Lonzo Ball is grateful that his dad exploited him to the point where he gets to play for the Lakers organization in his hometown, which is almost guaranteed to get Paul George next year in free agency, which has one of the best leaders to come out of sports ever, Magic Johnson, as the president over there. Let me ask you this. Think about this. In your heart of hearts, do you think the Lakers would have chose Lonzo Ball over De'Aaron Fox if LaVar Ball didn't exist? Do you? After Fox jumped out of the gym, scored 40 points against Lonzo Ball in the Sweet 16 this year, you think after that, the Lakers would have passed on De'Aaron Fox and chosen the soft-spoken Lonzo Ball, who's a pass-first point guard and who doesn't look great in an individual workout? You think they would have chosen Lonzo Ball over the extremely athletic, smart, well-spoken De'Aaron Fox who played at Kentucky and dropped 40 on him? No chance in hell that they would have given up De'Aaron Fox for Lonzo Ball if it wasn't for LaVar Ball. LaVar Ball exploited his son all the way to the second pick in the draft. He's going to his hometown, beach town, LA Lakers. Exploited his son all the way to his own shoe brand. Not his own shoe. He exploited his son all the way to his own distribution and his own brand. The Big Baller brand. He exploited his son all the way into walking into the league as the 8th biggest name in basketball already behind Westbrook, Harden, Curry, LeBron, KD, Leonard, and Green. God, I'm so fed up with the LaVar Ball hate. He's not exploiting his son, he's promoting his son. And I actually do think, this WWE thing fits LaVar Ball's brand brilliantly. When I first saw this was going to happen, I said to myself, holy smokes, LaVar Ball is Vince McMahon. He is Vince McMahon. He's a wildly controversial promoter who does things a little bit differently. You know, they say Donald Trump is the Vince McMahon of politics. I think LaVar Ball is the Donald Trump of sports fathers, except way less divisive. He makes player comparisons and claims that he could have beaten Jordan. He doesn't have the controls to our nukes. It's a lot better if you ask me. All right, be back after the break. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This is The Jerk. Anytime I can talk about LaVar Ball, who just took his shirt off on national television the night before, it's a great show. I can promise you that. It is a great show anytime I'm talking about LaVar Ball. Because all you people get so worked up.
Oh, he's too arrogant. I just can't take the self-confidence. I just can't take how confident he is in his kid.
Why? What is your problem with people having confidence? And everybody's saying, you know, first of all, if you can explain to me the problem with arrogance, call into the show, 928-523-4554. Make me look like an idiot. Tell me why I'm so wrong about this whole arrogance thing. I don't get it. I think everybody should be a little bit more arrogant. What is it? Does it make you feel insecure about yourself when other people are arrogant? Is that what it is? Call into the show, 928-523-4554. I love arrogance. I love LaVar Ball. He went on WWE last night, took his shirt off. He didn't wrestle anybody, but he took his shirt off and his boys were there. And I think one of the things I was thinking about with LaVar Ball, he's really built his brand on not being a Nancy, saying whatever the hell he thinks. And I think that is the smartest brand to build right now in America. Trump has built that brand, and he's the president of the United States right now based off of that brand, based on the fact that he is, you know, what is the brand of my show? The Jerk with Matthew Jarecki. Authentic and unapologetic. That was my brand. You know, that's been my brand since I was like 10 years old getting in trouble in class. It's gotten me in trouble my whole life. I figured the only avenue that I could go down where I wouldn't get in trouble for this, or maybe I will, is radio. So I chose radio. Authentic and unapologetic. America eats that up right now because everybody is so politically correct. And we're going to get into a story later. Everybody's being so politically correct because John McEnroe said Serena Williams couldn't beat most men professional tennis players. And people are freaking out about that. And I'm reading all these articles about why women are stronger than men. Women, I don't know, look around you. Look around you in society. Are most women stronger than most men? Go to the gym. Look at these huge, buffed up men. Do you see any women close to these men bodybuilders, even if they're women bodybuilders? It's just science, nothing against women. It's just how we are made as people. Men are just more physically dominant. So we'll get to that a little bit later. But I think, you know, LaVar Ball has really come out over the last 8 months. And we all know what his marketing strategy is. He's wild, he's crazy, he's going to stir the pot. He's controversial. But he's sports controversial. It's never anything actually upsetting. It might be upsetting if you really love sports and you put a lot of eggs in your sports basket. But in general, to the general public, LaVar Ball is not that controversial with the stuff he says. And by the way, he is not exploiting his son. Everybody's telling me, he's exploiting his son though. And he's arrogant and he's cocky. What? How is he exploited his son all the way to the second pick in the draft? I was saying before the break, you think the Lakers, after watching De'Aaron Fox drop 40 in a win over Lonzo Ball's team, and Lonzo Ball is a pass-first point guard. You think the Lakers would have chosen Lonzo Ball over De'Aaron Fox after that? After watching that in the Sweet 16, if it wasn't for LaVar Ball promoting his son and making Lonzo Ball the 8th biggest star in basketball? Don't give me that. Don't give me that. They absolutely would not have taken the passive pass-first point guard over the dominant, physical, and very well-spoken De'Aaron Fox who played at the big-time school Kentucky. So I don't buy the whole exploiting his son thing. And I also think the other thing about LaVar Ball that is very smart, people don't understand how smart LaVar Ball has been about his marketing. And by the way, he's in great shape. Did you see him last night on WWE? He's in better shape than the wrestler that he took his shirt off in front of. I think it was The Miz. He's in better shape than that guy. He's like 50 years old. The other thing LaVar Ball has done, which I think is so smart, he's built his brand on being not politically correct. When you build your brand like Hillary Clinton or, any of those politicians on being politically correct, suddenly one slip up and you are done, baby. People are all over that ass. But when you build your brand on just being authentic and messy and sloppy and I'm going to say whatever I want, there's a radio host right now, Clay Travis, and he's very popular. I'm sure you've heard of him. He basically never, he says the truth, or he says his truth all of the time. And it just gets people so wound up and rattled, and he never says anything racist. None of the stuff if you really listen to Clay Travis talk over a 3-hour period, hardly any of what he says is truly divisive. But he just shies away from political correctness. And he just shies away from saying what he thinks you want him to say. He'll just say whatever the hell is on his mind. He's built his brand on being not politically correct. So it leaves him so much room for error. He could basically say, because he's built his popularity on the fact that he is authentic and unapologetic like the jerk, he has basically built his brand on being not politically correct. So now it's actually encouraged that Clay Travis goes wild on his radio show. And I love it because it's a breath of fresh air, and people love it because it's a breath of fresh air, and it's the same way Donald Trump got elected, and it's the same way LaVar Ball has grown his big baller brand to like 70,000 followers on Twitter, and it's getting on WWE, and he was built for that show. And I think it leaves, I think in today's day and age, when everybody's so scared, everybody's walking on eggshells around everybody, especially in the media, because they're afraid that people are going to come after them. Like that episode of Black Mirror, the Death 2 episode. If you guys haven't seen Black Mirror, go check it out, by the way. Everybody's so scared of getting crapped on by the Twitter universe that they're politically correct and they're not authentic. So building a brand based on authenticity and based on messy, not politically correct is the smartest thing, in my opinion, you can do in our current media landscape. And that's what LaVar Ball's done. And by the way, the other takeaway I have from last night, his son, first of all, they didn't include, I think it's Lorenzo Ball or LaMelo, I don't know. They brought the youngest son on, who's 15. I think his name's LaMelo. Oh yeah, and they have LiAngelo Ball, who's heading to UCLA next year. They left LiAngelo Ball off of that show. They didn't bring him. And LiAngelo Ball is the guy that's not supposed to be very good at basketball. Now, LaVar Ball has been quoted saying all of his sons are going to be a Laker. He's been quoted saying that. Now, he also said the Lakers are going to make the playoffs next year. It's kind of his thing. He just makes bold predictions. He doesn't really care if they're right or wrong. But I think this family knows LiAngelo Ball, he ain't that good. And UCLA knows LiAngelo Ball, he might ride the bench. He might be coming off the bench for us. So I think the Ball family, they know LiAngelo's not going to be that good. And I think LiAngelo probably knows he's not going to be that good. And conveniently, they left him off Monday Night Raw. They brought LaMelo, the 15-year-old, on, who's got like 3 years until he's in college. But they didn't bring the guy that's probably not going to make the NBA, LiAngelo Ball. That's the other thing I found interesting about last night. All right, we're going to take a break right now. And then after the break, so I talked about political correctness and how I think it's the smartest thing to do to build a brand that's based around not being politically correct, because then you're in the clear forever. People already like you because you're not politically correct. Nobody can tear you down for saying something stupid. You basically built a wall for yourself. And I think John McEnroe, former tennis star in America, he was at the forefront of that. He built that brand before Trump, Vince McMahon. He was like that when he was a player. That's just the way he is. And he came out, and he was on NPR, and he said something, and all the left-leaning media folks, I don't even know if it's left. I think it's just pansy. All the pansies are coming out, and they're scared of what he's saying. And they're saying, well, women live longer. Yes, they live longer, but, Anyway, I don't want to give it all away right now. I don't want to give it all away, but John McEnroe said something, and it offended a lot of people, and I actually kind of agree with him. We'll get to that after the break. This is Kjack Radio, 107.1 FM, Flagstaff, Arizona. You can catch us on kjackradio.com, Facebook Live if you want to go there, if you want to see this face of mine. And then you can catch the podcast after the show. I'll drop all that information when we get to the end of the show. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This is The Jerk. Welcome back to The Jerk. I'm Matthew Jarecki. I am The Jerk. We are just finishing up the show today. I want to go for 2 hours today. My show is not 2 hours. There's just a lot to get to on a Tuesday at the end of June. It's the weirdest thing, but I love it. So we started the show. Russell Westbrook, I think, deserves every bit of that NBA MVP award for the regular season because not that his stats were, James Harden had the better stats. And I was very critical of Russell Westbrook all season. But Russell Westbrook provided storylines where there were no storylines during the NBA season. I was looking from the corner of my eye during the NFL season saying, what the hell am I going to talk about when we have to get into the NBA regular season? The finals were predetermined last year. And he provided the triple-double storyline. I think that alone saved ESPN's ass. It saved Fox Sports' ass. It saved TNT. It saved the radio host in our country. It saved all of our asses that Russell Westbrook provided the triple-double storyline. So I think he's my MVP for that. Hell, he gave me something to talk about for like 4 months. He's my MVP. So I think it's deserved. I think, the stats were this and that. The stats were this and that for James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They were right there. James Harden was a little bit better. I think Russell Westbrook deserved it based on the hype machine he got rolling. And I think James Harden, for the fact that he lost it, he's going to play really hard next year. And I think he'll continue to change and develop as a non-selfish player in the NBA. I think James Harden not winning the MVP could actually work out in his favor big time. And the other thing we talked about, LaVar Ball went on WWE last night, Monday Night Raw. I think it fits his brand brilliantly. I think it's the perfect decision for LaVar Ball. He's actually ripped. He was actually more ripped than the wrestler he was standing across from. And I think LaVar Ball, everybody's telling me he's exploiting his kids. He's bringing them on a wrestling show. What is he doing? I can't take the arrogance. No, he did. He's not exploiting what is he exploiting his son all the way to the Los Angeles Lakers? He's a hometown star now. He's a hometown star. You think he would have been picked second in the draft if it wasn't for LaVar Ball? A passive, pass-first point guard who's underspoken? You think the Lakers would have taken Lonzo Ball, who got 40 points dropped on him from De'Aaron Fox in the Sweet 16 and lost? If it wasn't for LaVar Ball? Hell no. And the other thing that happened, I guess the media is kind of going crazy about this. I guess Twitter is. I don't know if America actually cares about this as much as Twitter does, but John McEnroe, and I'm going to go like five minutes past my time just so I can get into this, but John McEnroe, a former tennis player, he's always been controversial. He's one of those guys that has built his brand on not being politically correct. He came out, and here's what he had to say about Serena Williams on an NPR interview.
Wonderful female players. Let's talk about Serena Williams. You say she is the best female player in the world in the book.
Best female player ever, no question.
Some wouldn't qualify it Some would say she's the best player in the world. Why qualify it?
Oh, she's not, you mean the best player in the world, period?
Yeah, best tennis player in the world. You know, why say female player?
Well, because if she played the men's circuit, she'd be like 700 in the world.
You think so?
Yeah. That doesn't mean I don't think Serena's like an incredible player. I do, but there's, the reality of what would happen on a given day. Serena could beat some players, I believe, because she's so incredibly strong mentally. But if she had to just play the circuit, the men's circuit, that would be an entirely different story. So maybe at some point a women's tennis player, can be better than anybody. I mean, I haven't seen it in any other sport, and I haven't seen it in tennis, and I suppose anything's possible at some stage.
So people are slamming John McEnroe for that because he said men. Basically what he was saying is men are more physically dominant than women, and Serena Williams would struggle to beat a man tennis player. Let me tell you the facts. These are just facts, okay? Men hold the record by a complete second, which is a long time in sprinting. In the 100 meter. Men hold the record by a complete second, which is like an eternity in sprinting. Men are historically taller. Men are historically stronger than women. So what is the problem with John McEnroe coming out and saying that Serena Williams would struggle to beat these tennis players? What's the argument against it? That's what I would love to know. If somebody can call in right now, 928-523-4554, what is the argument against Serena Williams would struggle to beat men tennis players? Does anybody argue? Like, let's just look around your environment. When you're at work at the end of a kitchen shift, who do they ask to take out the trash? Men. They're never like, hey, Celine, would you take out the trash? You're really strong. No, they ask the men at the end of the kitchen shift. I've been in 6 kitchens in my lifetime. It's always the servers coming over and saying, hey, Matt, could you take out the trash? That's what it is. That's what it's always been. Why is there a crossroads right now where people are trying to claim, even though we have a history of men being taller, faster, and stronger, based on science, why is there now a crossroads of, wait a minute, women are just as strong as men? Why is there a crossroads of Serena Williams would beat men tennis players when we literally segregate women and men in sports because women would have such a disadvantage if they had to play in men's leagues? I don't know. All right, the time is up. It's 10:02 right now. The Jerk is about to be over. You can find the podcast on, what do we got here? At The Jerk Show. At The Jerk Show on Twitter. You can find the podcast on The Jerk with Matthew Jarecki Facebook page. You can go to OutsideTheLeague.com. It's my website. You can go to my personal Twitter, if that's easier for you. Matthew Jarecki. Just type in my name, Jarecki. And you can find the podcast. If you missed any of the show and you heard me talking and you'd like to listen to the show, just go follow the podcast on any of my social media accounts. We also have YouTube set up. Just type in The Jerk with Matthew Jarecki. You could just type that in on Google. If that's the simplest thing for you guys, just type it in on Google. The Jerk with Matthew Jarecki. And if you have followed me on any of my social media, then you'll find it there. It was a great show today. Again, I always say this, but we are the only sports radio show broadcasting out of Flagstaff, meaning we are the best sports radio show broadcasting out of Flagstaff. That's a label we have. We're the best sports radio show broadcasting out of Flagstaff. That's a fact, because we're the only ones. We're going to be in here every single weekday, 9 to 10. In the fall, the hours might change, but right now, for the summertime, 9 to 10 a.m., every single weekday. You can depend on us. I haven't missed a day in like a month. You can depend on us, 9 to 10 a.m., KLJXLP 107.1, and you can catch the podcast always after the show. Be back tomorrow morning. I'm Matthew Jarecki. This has been the jerk.